All right, Daniel, what are we going to talk about today?
Great to see you, Sam. So you brought up wanting to discuss the customer first mindset and how nonprofits can bring almost a for-profit type mindset to the nonprofit world and the services they deliver. And since last time you interviewed me on a topic that was familiar to me, I thought this time we'd turn things around and I'd ask you about this topic that you're very familiar with. So what was on your mind?
Yeah, I just think, here we are. It's December 2024. We formed our partnership in November of last year, and it's been a very fast growth year. And I think right now we're in this tension of really trying to stick to our values, stick to the commitments and the obligations that we say. It's easier when you've got a small amount of clients. It's harder as you add more and more. And I think the day-to-day, the culture, as we're hiring, I feel like every day is an opportunity to either live by, what we say in a sales presentation or to deviate away from that. And I think the challenge is going to be in this business. How do we cling to what our commitments are and how do we continue to try to provide the best service possible in this space? Because I think generally from a macro standpoint, there's a lot more work for accountants to do and bookkeepers and financial folks to do than the people there are to do it. And so one of the things we're trying to solve with CFO Leverage is provide a really good customer experience across the board. And I feel like now, through a lot of great things, but opportunity, we're either going to do it and stick to it and work to stick to it, or we could deviate away from it. So I thought we could just do it real time.
I think it's the quality of decision-making and the speed of decision-making and just that ability to make good decisions. A lot of times it depends on the data and the input that you have. And so as we're able to serve clients with information, I think it improves the executive decision-making ability because they've got better information at their fingertips. But what are some areas that you've seen nonprofits struggle to make good decisions?
Well, funding is such an issue for every nonprofit. I think with our model as a for-profit, there's a residual stream of income. And so we can hire off of that. We can invest in the business off of that. If we do a good job, we know that should be there and it should continue to grow. Nonprofits, for the most part, people that are running off endowments, it's different because they can spend down like 5% a year. And if they've been there longer, if their funding situation is different or grants. But I have a lot of compassion for nonprofit directors because of all the things that they have to face day in, day out. But one of the things I think, and I don't know how to do this because I've never been a nonprofit director, but if there's issues with staff or there's issue with culture, that's only going to compound problems for the director and for the organization day in, day out. If there's a lot with, mental health and imbalance that I know exists, I can't really speak to, but like financially, like with the board that I'm on, or if I was a leader, I want to know where I stand every single day. Like I want to know exactly where we stand with this business. Any other business that I'm involved in, I want to know where we stand. And so you've got to have somebody that is responsible for that. And I think with what we've seen, people's finances can be unorganized. They can be not reconciled for months, or they might not know, they might not have a budget. And so they're kind of shooting in the dark a little bit. One of the things I've seen in our space is if you have good information and you have good data, then you can make better real-time decisions. And I think you can move faster. And then I think you can focus more time and energy on the things that are the most important outcomes to the organization. And I think also too, nonprofit directors have a lot of compassion for the most part. They have a lot of empathy. And I think sometimes they're more patient on solving problems than maybe what they could be. And I want to speak carefully there because I haven't been a director and I would probably be a terrible director, but I do think that being a little bit more decisive and having more organized and better information is going to help. It's going to save people time, or it should. And then also tackling challenges and doing that in a head-on approach. I mean, I think even with how we think about with our business, I mean, if we let things linger and fester, that's going to affect our service to the client. And the faster we can deal with it, solve it, move on, then we can just operate at a higher tempo.
Yeah, let me give one example because I think the speed may be a new concept to a lot of nonprofits. But one example that comes to mind is getting your receipts and thanking the donors after a donation comes in. I think it makes a difference to the success of the organization. When a donor gives you money and you are able to turn around and get a thank you receipt out to the donor promptly, then the donor feels appreciated and valued. And so if it takes weeks or months to turn around and get a thank you for a gift that they made that was important to them, and then I think the organization may suffer because they don't get a follow-up gift, or the follow-up gift doesn't come until after the thank you comes. And so just improving the speed of the process sometimes can make a difference in the success of the organization. Are there other areas where the speed of decision making or the speed of the operations you think defines the organization?
To your example, the people that I know that I've seen in my own limited experience that are the best at fundraising, they treat that as like one of their most important priorities day in, day out. And so I think with follow-ups, with lunches, with coffees, with sending follow-up information, with making those asks, I think when people are given introductions and things like that and people capitalize and jump on it, it's like anything else in sales. I think the close rate is higher. And so, I think people that it takes longer to get something scheduled with, or longer to communicate with, or more back and forth, I think it slows them down. And so I think your example on the follow-up, receipts and notes and things like that, I think that's just because at the end of the day, most of the times people are getting donations from foundations or from people that have, money to give, and all money matters. It doesn't matter if it's $5 or $5,000 or $50,000, but especially the people that are given the $10,000, $50,000 gifts, a lot of them are entrepreneurs. And those people have built their careers and companies off of speed and decision making and execution. And so I think it's a love language to them. And I think they really appreciate that. And they feel like there's a stewardship component. Like these people are running this nonprofit the way that I would run a business. And I know a nonprofit is different than a business, but I think people appreciate that kind of hustle.
Right. I think that's where you have unique insight, because you have connected with so many entrepreneurs and leaders in the course of your career that you have insight into how those people think. And so what you're saying is that when they see those same qualities in a nonprofit, it resonates to them and encourages them for further support.
Yeah, it's fresh on their mind, it's on their heart, and strike when the iron's hot.
I know this mindset doesn't come naturally to me as an accountant. I tend to overthink things and mull over decisions for a long time. What types of information do you look for when you're making a decision? Let's say it's a staffing decision and you're trying to decide whether to hire a new staff for the organization.
Well, we do a lot of those things together. I mean, one of the things that I think I haven't done that well at times in the past is really trying to understand who the person is and what their motives are. We have a partnership in this business, and I think that partnership has worked really well so far. So it's a little bit different than just doing something individually. But I personally, I have a lot of limitations, and I have certain things that are skill sets, and I want to be in the top 10% of anything that I'm a part of. And I don't mean that in some crazily competitive way, but like in this business, I want to know, does somebody have a heart? Do they have compassion? Is there some interest that they have in nonprofits? That's one thing I want to try to understand. Two, do they have the competency to do the job? But if we're talking to somebody and you felt strongly about it, I would be fine to go with it however you thought was best. They're going to be reporting to you from a accounting or from a data entry or from a CPA standpoint. So, but that would be something that I would look for if I was individually making the decision. And then third, I would want to know, are they an overachiever? What kind of person are they? What are the motives? Do they have a heart for nonprofits? Do they have a heart for the work? Two, do they have the experience? And then third, I kind of covered a little bit there. And one is like, do they get complacent or do they kind of want to keep pushing it? Because I think if somebody doesn't have those kind of characteristics or desires, I think that might conflict with other people that just want to keep growing and evolving within the organization. To be honest, on some of the interviews that we do, I don't really know if that person can really know their job or not. So I really lean on your experience. But one of the things that I'm really fixated on every interview is, are we going to mess up the culture? Are we going to take 2 to 3 days, 4 days to answer an email? Are we going to call the customer back? Try to call the customer back same day. Those things are hard, but they stand out in the marketplace. And I think those are the things that make people talk about their service provider versus not. And so I care a lot that we're going to, as we continue to grow and hire people, that we're adding people that share these values. Because I know if people don't do this, it's going to negatively affect the experience that we have. And then lastly, I mean, we got to do good work. We got to know what we're doing. If we don't know what we're doing, then that's going to irritate the client that way. But I think there's ways to shine in this work. And that's how I would think about it.
Yeah, I definitely think the culture fit is so important. I think that's one area that nonprofits tend to do really well in hiring. When the executive director for a nonprofit is hiring, they tend to prioritize culture fit. And that's something that I think, I've learned from being in the nonprofit space and that we're bringing to our hiring process as well. But another area of hiring, that you reference is just the competency. And I think, bring this back to sort of that customer first mindset that for-profits have. It's critical that you can do the job. And a lot of times nonprofits folks are wearing multiple hats. They're doing multiple roles. And sometimes they're hiring people for one thing and then, end up with a lot of other things on their plate. So it's important also to just confirm the competency aspect of what a nonprofit's hiring someone for, and the director is getting the right people in the right seats.
I mean, I've been fortunate to do business with people that are very smart and they're very accomplished. Oftentimes people understand something without anybody even having to say something. So you might as well just tell the truth. And I think when we do mess up, we need to own it. Or if we do fail in communication, we need to own it. But like last night, we were talking through something and there was probably a way in communication that we could have handled it better. The client may or may not have known, but we know. But also there's a lot of other things that, and reasons why it was that way. But I think it's continuous improvement, just to always keep thinking about what could we have done better. And then that's what I love about people that I work with, other service providers that, we pay or work with. It's like, man, when they own their responsibilities and they're also open-minded and they don't get defensive about how to keep making it better, that's just a more fun, energizing environment to be around than being insecure or defensive or closed-minded about it. And I think oftentimes it's rare to see that and feel it, but I think it's important, especially to keep growing.
I agree that it's a lot more fun when you continue to learn, you continue to grow, you're open to those experiences. I think the organization does better when you have a culture of improvement so that you're not stagnant. I mean, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you might be good at that, but if the world keeps moving on and you're stuck doing the same thing over again, then I think you lose relevance. And so just that growth mindset is critical, whether you're a for-profit or a nonprofit. So how can we support making good decisions with the work that we're doing?
I think we've got to continue to invest in the business. And I think we've got to continue to hire smart people that are passionate about the work and make sure we hold things accountable to what we need to do as a business, but to find smart people and to keep pushing to find more clients so we can bring more people in that know what they're doing and serve more clients. Because I think if we're doing a good job and serving more clients, we're doing our part to help the nonprofit space in the United States and around the parts of the world. So I think we got to invest in the business. Two, I think has been very beneficial. I think earlier on, we both wanted the company to grow more than what it was doing. And I think probably I got a little nervous, not like overly concerned, didn't think it was going to make it. I was just a little impatient. But, I felt like you were always a strong voice in staying in the nonprofit space. And I think that's been a great decision for us because as one of my mentors says, it's hard to beat a man at his own game or hard to beat a lady at their own game. And this is our game because of your really direct experience and then how we're hiring people based off of similar experience. And so we don't do for-profit stuff. And I'm glad we've done that. And I think that, we've dealt with this when we've had some things done for us. Sometimes salespeople don't know, it's like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing, or you got to contact 2 to 3 to 4 times to get an answer. So I think we tell people that we're going to have reconciliations done by the 20th of the month. Now, sometimes there's certain circumstances where some people go a little bit beyond that, but most of the time we hit that. I think we need to ask ourselves every single month, how are we doing on this? Because if we miss it, if we miss it for people, then we're getting off track a little bit. Or why are we getting off track? To me, that's a good example. Secondly, I think we always need to be accessible. I mean, you do a lot of client work, and then we have to do a lot of prospecting and questions work. We probably need to staff up more over time to give you an ability to be flexible, to serve the team, but to also interact with customers, because I think that's significantly helped us in the sales process. Third, I mean, I think I chip in and communicate wherever possible to help add an extra touch, when you or other people on our team are bogged down. And I think whether it's myself or somebody else, I just think where we kind of are more proactive from a communication standpoint, I think that's going to help deepen the relationship with the client. And then I think another thing we do is like these monthly meetings. I mean, there's certain clients I don't see that you only see, and then there's other clients I see. I mean, I think it's good to have consistent check-ins to understand what's not working, because people cancel when something's not working, but nothing's done about it, and they bottle and stew over it. And I think when we always ask the customer what's going well, what's not going well, any problems or issues, and we just throw it out there on the table, and we do that every 30 days or sooner, or in all of our interactions, we can just solve problems faster. And I think sometimes people don't like bad news. It scares them, it intimidates them. But I think so far we haven't minded to try to learn what could we be doing better. And then another example, if we continue to have experience and know what we're doing in this space, then that's going to affect the quality of work to the customer. Another example, I'm probably on 7 or 8, but I think if we can integrate technology, if we can get people over from PC remote desktop to QuickBooks Online, if we can do the things, the projects, we're going to get paid for that. But most importantly, we're going to provide efficiencies and value to the customer. And I think a lot of times traditional finance people, they're so just overwhelmed with so much stuff going on that they're always just reacting to the urgent, and they're not moving the needle on the things that can really make the organization more efficient.
That's a trap that I tend to fall into too. As an accountant, I get focused on the urgent and focus on just last month and last year and, the compliance issues. And you've got to have the compliance issues. That's just basic. And that's a lot of the accounting bookkeeping work is keeping up with the compliance. But I think what gets me excited about this work is once you have that piece solved and you have the compliance and you have good solid numbers, you can use that then for projections or for decision making or for growth opportunities going into the future. And so one of the things that we've done in our structure is just have a fixed monthly price for a scope of work, because I don't want a client to be scared to pick up the phone and call me when they're making a decision or they're looking at something and they want to run something by me. I don't want them scared to pick up the phone and think that they're going to get a bill for that, because I'd much rather have the input into that future facing decision. I mean, that part is exciting to me. I know I tend to also get busy with things, and I think as part of building out our team and capacity, we have to make sure that we have that space for that communication and that customer communication to help with those issues, because that's where you add a lot of value from the finance side.
Yeah. I mean, we're in the people business. I mean, you can feel it on a sales meeting. Like if people are engaged, we're solving their problems, we're talking through it, versus, if things are a little bit more cold or it's hard to break through, like we could offer so much more value, when we have trust with the customers and we deliver on our job day in, day out. And I mean, the thing that makes me the happiest about all this is to, like, Tuesday, we did a tour at a new client and seeing, like, I almost cried thinking about the work that they do and the people that are there. I mean, our job is to make their lives easier. And if we're not doing that, we're failing.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we need help. We need participation by the client on certain things. I think if we take care of that, are we making our clients' jobs easier, and are we doing what we said we're going to do? If we do that, everything else will fall into place.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
No, man, it's been fun. Hope it's helpful. And follow our newsletter, cfoleverage.com. And we have an email list there. And I mean, we just want to share real time about building this business, but also what we're seeing. And then the things that are living and seeing to try to add value to the industry, but also talk about what we see with our clients.
Wholeheartedly agree. Thanks, Sam.
All right, brother.
Hey, everyone. This is your co-host, Daniel Weaver, and I'm the managing partner with CFO Leverage. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Maximize Your Impact podcast by CFO Leverage. If you've enjoyed this episode, would you share this with a friend or leave us a review on your podcast platform? If you have questions about what you've heard or want help creating a solid administrative and financial foundation at your nonprofit, we want to hear from you. Please contact Sam Coates or myself on our website, www.cfoleverage.com. That's www.cfoleverage.com. Have a great day and go maximize your impact.